Pictures from the front lines have shown Ukrainian artillerymen raining fire down on Vladimir Putin's invaders, as Kyiv's troops continue their counteroffensive. The Ukrainian military said it had pushed Russian forces out of pockets of territory along the front lines in the east and south of the country, building on the gruelling counteroffensive launched 2 months ago. The gains, announced by Ukraine's deputy defense minister, came as Russia claimed its forces had progressed in the eastern Kharkiv region, undermining Kyiv's highly anticipated campaign. However, reports have also suggested Ukraine has completed operations across a southern point on the Dnipro River, a key objective for Kyiv. Ukraine kicked off its counteroffensive against Russian forces in June after building up assault battalions and stockpiling Western-donated weapons. But progress has been hampered by widespread Russian-laid minefields and strong fortifications, Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said, with Kyiv saying it had only gained a clutch of land around the war-battered city of Bakhmut last week. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian military had pushed forward around the village of Staromayorsk, around 60 miles southwest of Russian-held Donetsk, and was pressing on 2 fronts in the south, Maliar said. She said troops were fighting for control of the neighboring settlement of Urezhain. A Moscow-installed official in an occupied part of Ukraine's Zaporizhia region said on Sunday that Kyiv was attempting to pierce Russian lines by gaining a foothold in both villages which stand in the path of Ukraine's goal of reaching the Sea of Azov. Hostilities are taking place in the vicinity of Urezhain and the fight is for this particular locality, Maliar said in a statement to an official military platform. There is some success on the southern and southeast axes in the vicinity of Staromayorsk. Maliar also said Kyiv's army had conducted certain tasks on the left bank, or eastern bank, of the Dnipro River in the Kherson region. The river was rendered the de facto front line between Ukrainian and Russian forces in the region after Kyiv recaptured the territory's main city, also called Kherson, in November. In its latest intelligence update, the British Defence Ministry noted an uptick in small-scale combat along the lower Dnipro River, where it said Ukrainian forces were attempting to conduct raids and set up new bridgeheads. Crossing the portion of the Dnipro River, which was flooded when the Kakhovka Dam was destroyed in June, likely by Russian forces, is seen as a key objective towards Ukraine's ultimate goal of pushing Russia out of its territory, including Crimea. Ukrainian forces have made incremental gains since kicking off their long-awaited operation in June, but officials in Kyiv have acknowledged that progress has been slower than they would have liked and hampered by rigid Russian defenses. In Monday's statement, Maliar described the nature of that challenge. The armed forces are facing complete mining of the territory, cement fortifications of the key heights, and constant mortar and artillery shelling, she said. Additionally, the Russians are densely using aviation. Maliar added that the Ukrainian military managed to retake nearly 2 square miles during the past week around the ruined eastern city of Bakhmut, where Russian and Ukrainian forces fought the bloodiest battle of the nearly 18-month war. She also said Russian troops were continuing their assault around the eastern towns of Kupiansk and Lyman, where she said they were regrouping. The Russians have intensified these offensives after success of the Ukrainian army on Bakhmut axis, Maliar said. Russia still controls around a fifth of Ukraine, including the Black Sea Peninsula of Crimea, Luhansk region in the east and swathes of the regions of Donetsk, Zaporizhia and Kherson. The occupied territory includes most of Ukraine's coastline and parts of its industrial heartland, the Donbass. Ukraine has urged its Western allies to ramp up arms deliveries, including long-range missiles and F-16 fighter jets to speed up its offensive. That was the message Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said he took to his meeting with Germany's finance minister Christian Lindner, who arrived in Kyiv on Monday. While the offensive is ongoing, Russian territory has also been targeted by almost daily drone attacks. On Monday, the Russian army said it downed drones over the region of Belgorod bordering Ukraine, without any casualties or damage. Ukraine's claims of advances in the east came after its air force said it had downed several waves of Russian missiles and drones targeting Odessa. All 8 caliber cruise missiles and 23 drones were shot down, the defense ministry said on Twitter, which has been rebranded as X. Russia and Ukraine have stepped up attacks in the Black Sea since Moscow exited a deal last month that had granted Kyiv's grain export safe passage during the conflict. Since withdrawing from the agreement, Moscow has pounded ports in the Odessa region that were key for Ukrainian grain exports under the deal. Falling debris damaged a student dormitory in a supermarket in Odessa city center, wounding 3 workers, the army said. The blast wave damaged windows and balconies in several buildings and damaged cars parked nearby, it said, adding that firefighters were battling 2 blazes. Images shared by the army showed firefighters trying to extinguish flames engulfing a multi-story supermarket, with a large plume of smoke rising into the air. The overnight missile and drone attacks come a day after Moscow said warning shots were fired from a Russian warship at a cargo vessel heading towards Izmail, a city on the Danube River in Odessa. The Russian ship spotted the Sukru Oken cargo vessel sailing under the flag of Palau and fired the shots after its captain did not respond to demands to stop. After inspection, the cargo ship was allowed to continue its journey. These actions exemplified Russia's deliberate policy of endangering the freedom of navigation and safety of commercial shipping in the Black Sea, Ukraine's foreign ministry said on Monday, accusing Moscow of breaching United Nations accords and norms of international law. Izmail, one of the main export routes for Ukrainian agricultural products to neighboring Romania, was attacked by Russian drones earlier in August.